The great Kobe Bryant had this to say about Brandon Roy. He's the most difficult player to guard, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. Roy has no weakness in his game. Strong words from the Mamba himself. In his first 4 years in the league, Brandon Roy was a 3-time All-Star and 2-time All-NBA player. But after just 5 seasons in the league, his career was over. What happened? Here on Rigno's Hoops, we like to look back at some of the forgotten NBA hoopers. So this is the career of Brandon Roy. Let's get it. Brandon Roy grew up in Seattle, Washington. Now, Seattle's produced some great NBA players. Jamal Crawford, Isaiah Thomas, Zach LaVine, DeJounte Murray, just to name a few. Brandon was one of the first. He went to Garfield High School. While at Garfield, he ended up being a 4-star recruit, the number 36 player in the country, and number 6 shooting guard in his class. Before he could attend college, he had to pass that SAT. It took Brandon Roy 4 times to pass the SAT, but he finally got it done. But in that meantime, Roy ended up getting a job cleaning shipping containers for $11 an hour at the Seattle docks. After finally passing his SAT, Roy decided to stay home and attend the University of Washington. Roy had a solid first 3 seasons at Washington, and after his junior year, he was pondering entering his name into the NBA draft. But after his teammates Nate Robinson and Martell Webster decided to take their talents to the lead, Brandon saw this as an opportunity to really elevate his play for his senior season. So he decided to go back to school, and it ended up being a great decision. Roy had a sensational senior year, 26-7 record for his Huskies, averaged 20 points per game, Pac-10 Player of the Year, and was an All-American. This helped boost his draft stock, and he ended up being the number 6 pick in the 2006 NBA draft. He was initially drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, but in the most Timberwolves fashion, they traded him away to Portland for the draft rights to Randy Foye. So now Brandon Roy was on his way to be a trailblazer. Crazy enough, Brandon Roy's NBA debut was actually in Seattle against the Supersonics. In this game, B. Roy put up 20 points. Not a bad start to your NBA career. The following game, he dropped 19, so he's off to a very solid start for a young player. Early on in his rookie season, we seen the first injury strike Brandon Roy. This one not too major, it was a left heel impingement. He ended up missing 20 games, but he came back and finished off his stellar rookie season. In that rookie year, B. Roy averaged 16.8 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and 4 assists. He ended up being named Rookie of the Year. He only played 57 games that rookie year, which is actually the second fewest by any Rookie of the Year in NBA history. 2007-2008 was a step in the right direction for Brandon Roy. He averaged 19 points per game, just under 6 assists, and just under 5 rebounds per contest. Roy was named an All-Star this season, but right before the All-Star break, in fact the last game before the break, he ended up having a sprained ankle. Now this was seen to be a minor injury, and Roy decided to play in the All-Star game where he ended up dropping 18 points. But the injury kind of lingered on the rest of the season. Still, he finished off his year strong. 2008-2009, before the season, Brandon Roy had a slight procedure to remove some knee cartilage. Despite missing time, he was able to still be ready for opening night. Now, the 2009 season was a big year for Brandon Roy. Check this out. Career high 52 points against the Phoenix Suns. He had a game with 10 steals. It was another All-Star appearance. First time making the All-NBA team. He made the second team. He averaged a career high 22.6 points per game, averaged 4.7 rebounds and 5.1 assists, and played in a career high 78 games. But this is my favorite moment from this season, and this probably defines Brandon Roy's career. I know y'all seen this shot. I'm gonna just let the tape roll.
There's Blake to Roy. This is for the win. Brandon Roy with a 3-3 on the Blazers. I beat the Rockets in overtime.
Yeah, mans was cold-blooded. If you watch my LaMarcus Aldridge video, you know this Portland Trailblazers team had struggles in the postseason. But going into 2009-2010, Brandon Roy felt like he could propel his team into having some success. And before the season even started, Brandon Roy got great news. He was getting paid, 4-year max contract extension. And this season, he lived up to that contract, averaging 21.5 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, and 4.7 assists, very similar to the year before. Ended up being an All-Star again and once again making the All-NBA team, this time the third team. But then April 10th, 2010, another setback happened for Brandon Roy. He ended up going down with a knee injury, which initially was thought just to be a bone bruise, but further testing revealed that he had a slight tear in his meniscus. But you got to give credit to how mentally strong Brandon Roy was. Despite tearing his meniscus slightly, he only missed 8 days of action and was able to return for the postseason. He returned in Game 4 against the Phoenix Suns and helped the Blazers win this game. Now, Portland did end up losing the series, but Brandon showed a valiant effort in returning for the playoffs. The following season started off very good for Brandon Roy, but in early December, you could tell his knees were really starting to bother him. He missed 8 straight games, and then the Trailblazers announced that he will be out indefinitely. On January 17, 2011, Brandon Roy ended up having arthroscopic surgery on both of his knees. Now, a lot of guys struggle returning from just getting this surgery on one knee, but both of them, that's crazy, man. And this also shows you how much of an Iron Man he is. Now, he had the surgery on January 17th. He was back in the lineup February 25th, only missing just over a month of action. But now, Brandon was coming off the bench. As you can tell, he was struggling out there. In this season, he only played 47 games, 23 of those coming off the bench. He had career low averages across the boards, 12 points per game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. You could tell Brandon Roy wasn't 100%, but he was still giving it his all out there. And in the postseason, he gave us a couple more great performances. In Game 3 of the first round against the Dallas Mavericks, trailing 0-2, Brandon went off for 23 points to help his team win the game. And then in Game 4, with his team trailing by as much as 23 points in the second half, Brandon Roy took over. He finished the game with 24 points and hit the eventual game-winning shot. Despite losing this series in 6 games, there was hope that maybe these few games from Brandon Roy in the postseason could help him get back to his former self the following year. But that never came. In the summer of 2011, Brandon Roy shocked the basketball world by announcing his retirement. He basically said his knees couldn't take it anymore. He had no cartilage left, and he was pretty much a shell of his former self. A promising NBA career done just like that. A year after announcing his retirement, there were whispers that Brandon Roy was thinking about making a comeback. If y'all remember, Kobe used to always go over to Germany to get those knee treatments. Yeah, Brandon did the same thing, and he was feeling better than ever. Now, the Blazers used the amnesty clause to forego the rest of the salary on Brandon Roy's contract. Remember, he got that max extension, so he couldn't be brought back to the team. But there were plenty of teams that wanted Brandon to come to their cities. The Dallas Mavericks, the Golden State Warriors, just to name a few. But Roy decided to go where he was initially supposed to start. He went to Minnesota to team up with an all-star Kevin Love and a young Ricky Rubio. Now, on paper, if Brandon Roy could get back to his old form, this looked like a very competent team. And in the preseason, Roy was saying that he was feeling good. But just 5 games into the season, Brandon Roy needed surgery. Yeah, you guessed it, it was knee surgery. And his year was over. Comeback was short-lived, and it was very disappointing as an NBA fan to not be able to see Brandon Roy return to his form. But Brandon seemed at peace with his decision to once again call it quits. Quote, "Anytime you walk away from the game, you have what ifs. I feel like I was able to answer those by playing this year." Now, while Brandon was at peace, what's the next step for him? Well, when you can't play the game anymore, why don't you just coach? Roy began coaching in 2016 at Nathan Hale High School. He coached future NBA players like Michael Porter Jr. and his brother Jonte Porter while at this school. His first year, he led the school to a perfect 29-0 record and was named Naismith National High School Coach of the Year. Not a bad way to start your coaching career. In 2017, a job opened up in a very familiar place for Brandon Roy. Roy would go on to get hired as the coach at his former high school, Garfield High. In 2018, Roy led his team to the state championship with a record of 28-1. So check that out, just a few years into his coaching career, he already has 2 state championships. Some guys coach for 25, 30 years and they never get that state championship. He already has 2 of them. Now in the 2018-19 season, Roy took the year off due to personal reasons, but he returned the following year and helped his team win yet another state championship. Even though he couldn't play the game anymore, he was able to still make an impact on the court. Brandon Roy is one of the craziest what-if stories in NBA history. In just 5 seasons, he was a 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player, and one of the best young guards in the league. He even got praise from greats like Kobe Bryant. Despite not being able to play anymore, Brandon Roy remained mentally strong and was able to find success as a head coach now in the high school game. One thing we can learn from his story, if something you love gets taken away from you, try to find another thing to be passionate about. So this is dedicated to Brandon Roy. He might get lost in the shuffle of the NBA, but the real ones know this man was a hooper.